Hi, I'm Joey from Cinema Studies. Today we're going to be talking about
mounting
and lenses.
In this video, we will address setting up a tripod, mounting a camera to a tripod, and mounting a lens to a camera. There are grip options other than tripod, like a slider or a gimbal or a shoulder rig, but if you can mount to a tripod, you'll know most of what you need to know to deal with the other grip mounts. So let's deal first with the tripod itself. Know that there are different kinds of tripods, and because this is a film channel, I'm going to urge you to make sure that you are using a video tripod. They are heavier and bulkier, but that weight and stability will be crucial to ensure that your setup isn't top-heavy. You don't want a top-heavy setup. That's how tripods tip over and break expensive cameras. Next, you should know that there are different types of video tripods, and not all of the specific features will be covered here. But again, if you know the basics, you should be able to figure out the rest. So let's look at setup. As with any camera equipment, do not force anything. If you're met with a lot of resistance, you're likely doing something wrong, and applying force may break the equipment. You'll want to get the lower legs extended and spread into place before anything else. Unlock the lower legs and extend them all the way. Be careful not to let them fall into place. This can put undue wear on the tripod. Pull them into position and then lock them using the lever or dial that you used to unlock them. I recommend extending the lower legs all the way because for most setups, this still won't be tall enough, but it will be a lot easier to make height adjustments to the upper legs than to the lower legs. Next, extend and lock the pan arm. This is the bar that's next to the head of the tripod, and when it's packed, it's usually pulled into a position that's great for containment but useless for shooting. Loosen the screw or locking lever that's keeping it in place, extend the pan arm, and then tighten. Before you mount the camera, take a look at the mounting plate that's on top of the tripod head. Make sure you know how to take this plate off and put it back on, and how to tighten the plate to the head. You'll want to be comfortable with these maneuvers before you have a camera on there. There are generally two steps to plate attachment. One, getting the plate into the track, and then two, tightening the plate into place so it doesn't shift. The most common action requires sliding the plate in from the rear of the mount. Notice that most plates do have a front and a back, so if you're trying to slide it in backwards, it won't fit. Note also that if you're doing this without a camera attached, the screw head underneath the plate may be getting in the way and you may have to move it to slide it in. Once your plate is in the track, use the locking lever or thumb screw on the side to tighten it into place. When taking the plate off, some heads have a release button to ensure that your plate doesn't accidentally slide off, even if it's loose, which you can imagine would be terrible were there a camera attached. There are other plate mounts though, like this one, where the plate does slide back and forth, but you have to get it in and out of the track by pushing the thumb screw that tightens it into place down to release a lever which enables you to angle it into place. This tripod plate actually loads in from the front and has a little gate that you have to push down in order to mount and dismount. The bottom line is there's a lot of variation in tripods, and because of that, it's a good idea to pause here and take a look at the screws and levers on the tripod and see what they do. As evidenced by the variation in plate mounts, tripods are all constructed a little bit differently, so make sure you know how yours works. When loosening any part of the tripod, go slowly and watch your fingers. If you don't watch your fingers, depending on the company you're in, you may need to watch your language. Know that for regular use, it is rare for any part of the tripod to come off except for the mounting plate. So if you have a piece of the tripod in your hand that isn't the mounting plate and it's not attached to the tripod, you probably did something wrong. Back up and start over. The last thing we'll talk about before mounting the camera is to make sure the screws and levers are fairly tight, especially the legs and the screws that create the axes of the tripod head. The pan action can be a little loose, but the tilt action and the pedestal, if your tripod has one, should all be fairly snug. Now, let's mount the camera. Look at the bottom of your camera and identify the machine screw holes. Your camera will likely have one of two sizes, 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch. Under this Canon C100, I actually have both, but you often have only one screw on the mounting plate, so check which screw size fits into which hole so you know where to aim. Next, look underneath the plate and find the stamped arrow labeled lens. This is telling you which direction the plate needs to be oriented in relation to the camera's lens so you don't accidentally mount it backwards. It helps to have two people perform this next step if you're not yet adroit with the process or you're just unable to execute this one-handed. With the tripod plate off of the tripod, screw the mounting screw into the corresponding hole in the bottom of the camera. The screw should thread with ease and you should be able to just hand tighten. If you feel resistance, you may have cross-threaded the screw. Back it out and start again. You can get this pretty stable with a hand tightening, but it helps to give it a quarter turn at the end with something that you can use to provide torque. If you don't have a screwdriver, a key, or even a coin will do just fine. Now you're ready to put this on your tripod. Using the same action that should now be secondhand to you because you've practiced the maneuver without the camera attached, mount the camera and tighten the screw into place. You'll notice that while I can move the camera using the axes of the tripod, I can't move the camera on the seat of the tripod itself. It doesn't turn or move in any direction without the help of the tripod. If your camera is loose or swivels in any way, it hasn't been mounted properly. So start over and work slowly until you're confident that the camera won't dismount by accident because that could be catastrophic. Finally, let's talk about mounting a lens is not difficult, but you are also dealing with the most fragile and expensive parts of your setup, so take your time and give this process your full attention. And if possible, again, do this with two people. The delicate parts that you're dealing with are the lens itself and the sensor, which is what's inside the camera behind the lens. And while the most important thing is to take your time and make sure you don't risk dropping or breaking anything, the next most important thing is to limit the amount of time that the sensor in the rear of the lens is exposed to the air, because by doing so, you are also exposing them to dust and moisture, which are the mortal enemies of these very fragile parts. To mount these pieces, have one person remove the sensor cap on the body of the camera while the other person removes the rear lens cap. Once you're ready for this docking maneuver, line up the dot on the rear of the lens with the dot above the opening in the camera, which is in the 12 o'clock position. Give the lens a gentle clockwise turn, and it should make a satisfying click. Make sure the lens isn't loose, and you're done. Again, no part of this process will require force. If you feel like you have to power your way through any of this, stop and start over. To remove the lens, simply do this process in reverse, keeping in mind that most, or dare I say all cameras, have a release mechanism, usually a button on the body of the camera right beside the lens that you must activate before trying to turn the lens counterclockwise. Again, do not force it. If it's not moving, it's likely because you haven't hit the release. Now, in this example, I'm using a Canon lens with an EF mount and a Canon camera with an EF mount. EF here means electrofocus, which by itself means very little, except you should know that this is Canon's proprietary hardware. You could not put this lens on a Sony camera without an adapter, nor could you put this lens on a Canon RF camera without an adapter. Same company, different mount. If you're using a lens adapter, which again you will need if you're using non-native lenses, you mount the adapter and then follow all of the aforementioned steps of lens mounting, keeping in mind that depending on the adapter you're using, you may not have access to in-camera lens controls like autofocus, meaning you will need to make lens adjustments on the lens itself. Uh-oh. Did I do something wrong? I sure did. I left the case open and unlatched while I was working. Do not do this. This is an invitation to disaster. It is very easy for an open case to get top-heavy and fall over, spilling and possibly shattering expensive camera equipment. Closing the case and not latching it is even worse because a closed case may seem secure, which can lead to a false sense of security, which can result in the same tragedy. So give yourself room to work and take the time to secure your cases so that you can avoid costly mishaps. That's it. Leave a comment if you have a question. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching. Go make great films.